Parker, aka Spider-Man, was introduced in an 11-page story by Stan Steele and Steve Ditko. He's no other kind of hero. He was nor a sidekick, or was he part of the team. He had different He had different adaptations to where he got his powers, and that's what I'm here to talk about, the history of Spider-Man, the story that started it all. Peter Parker lived with his Uncle Ben and his Aunt May in Forest Hill, Queens. He went to a high school called Midtown High. He was a gifted science student, and he was on a fast-track scholarship towards his college of his choice. He went to a demonstration of irradiation in a science lab, and he got bit by a glowing spider. He felt dizzy and walked outside the radiation place, and he did not know what was going on. He was spinning, and he figured out his powers by doing a superhuman leap, and then he jumped onto a wall and hung onto the building. He gained his strength and the ability of a spider, and he wanted to try out his new Spider-Man abilities by joining a wrestling match. He put on a mask just in case he lost, so he would save his identity. And he won prize money. He also went home and made his own costume to try again. And he went home and put on his costume, went and won another prize money during the wrestling match. A thief came outside and ran past him, and a man asked him why he didn't stop to save him. He said that it wasn't his job. But one day he came home and found a policeman outside of his house, and his Uncle Ben got shot. Then he went and they said that they were holding him by a leg by his house. So he ran out there and he beat him up, and then he decided to become a hero. This was the first animated series where they became the known theme song by Bob Harris and Paul Webster. This one had the origin of the same where it started in the comic book, but he also had differences. He had a motorcycle, and he did not wear glasses. He also found his powers when he was in college, and also he found out by running into a couple of thugs, and then he started fighting them and saw that he had the ability of a spider. This was the first animated series it was in Tokyo, where a Spider-Man hero name was Yu, and he had the gift of science, and he was allowed to make his own science experiment. He got bit by a spider and found out his powers. He first went against a victim, and he beat him up, and he died, and then he felt really bad, so he just stopped whatever he was doing, and then that's how the animated series ended. This was their first live-action show. They thought that since numerous times it was appeared as Spider-Man, that they should try their own show by themselves. CBS actually produced it by the Electric Company. This was his animated series where the first Iceman and Firestar was with him as a team, because he was never really part of a team. He was his own hero. So then Firestar was actually named after Mary Jane, his best friend from high school. The Ultimate Spider-Man Eulogy. It was a collection of stories that were off the origin of the first comic book. This shows that the spider of radioactive experiments was from Dr. Octavius, which was the same experiment which turned him into Dr. Octopus. This is the comic book, like the last till now. This shows like the origin that came from the start, but they made him have more superpowers, and also he is dating Gwen Stacy in this one. When he started dating in the first comic book, he was dating his secretary named Betty. So then it went from Mary Jane was his best friend. They didn't actually date in the comic books, but then they named her into Gwen Stacy. So this was the first Spider-Man movie that ever came out.
Here in the world, somebody lied. The truth is, it wasn't always like this. There was a time when life was a lot less complicated. Can I take your picture for school paper?
Sure. In this lab, we have 15 genetically enhanced super spiders.
There's 14. One's missing.
Peter, are you alright?
I'm fine. Hey, look, you're changing. I know I'm gonna do exactly the same thing at your age. No, not exactly.
This was the second. This is the other version that came out. It was like that, but then he has more superpowers in this one, and they like make it more real. And they have Iceman come in, and they have the different characters that actually came in the team come in, and the more villains that have more superpowers.
Ready to play God?
Do you have any idea what you really are? We all have secrets. The ones we keep. And the ones that are kept from us.
This one was more off of the original comic where he had glasses and then he came home to his Uncle Ben that had been shot by a burglar. And so that one just came off of the original comic. And they have a second movie that came out that I have, like, I don't know if everyone's seen it, so I didn't really want to ruin it for everyone. So the conclusion is that when it came out as the Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's first version, that is changed and that has adaptations into more powers and more really like detailed into